Welcome everybody to Barley's Pouch. Today is a very special Monday. Not
it?
only because you get to listen to me,
of course,
today, but it's Carlie's birthday.
Yay!
Turn up, turn up, turn up. So
Yes.
before we even get into the episode, which we're not going to do for a few minutes anyway, I need for you to screenshot the episode for Carlie's birthday and say happy birthday to Carlie, or choose one of her favorite Instagram pictures and post it or something. You know how to do it. Just say happy birthday to Carlie, because we appreciate her and we appreciate everything that she says and gives to us on the podcast and to us in our lives for people who know her. So we want to celebrate you.
Aww.
And when we get into today's episode, I'm pretty much just going to pull all the stories out of her because it's your birthday.
Of course.
But to celebrate, we also have some ice cream
We
today.
do.
So shout out to Arctic Zero because they sent us some ice cream to try, and it's really good, and it's perfect for Carlie's birthday.
Yes.
The one I have is cookies and cream. It's pretty good. Like, I'm already pretty much done eating it, actually.
And I'm eating the cookie and brownie dough, which I'm excited about because I love cookie dough. But y'all know I'm a health person, and I also love good food because I'm a foodie, so I do not compromise good food in my health journey. And what I'll say is I really like this, and it's only 320 calories per pint. No sugars, alcohols. There's a whole bunch of no's on here.
Right. You got a whole lot of little...
Yeah, so try them out, Arctic Zero.
But you know, actually, because I like food, but I don't necessarily care about health food. Well, you know what I like the best about this ice cream is that as soon as you pull it out of the freezer, you can actually like scoop it out easy. And it's like mad lame maybe, but for me, I hate when you pull the ice cream out and then it has to sit there because it's like either rock hard or then it's like, relax. Gosh, we're going to get Carlie under control. It's either too hard or it's melted. So I like with this, like you can immediately just go in and start eating it. So
and it's not chalky for the people out there who are trying to find the healthy versions of things that they love.
Yeah.
The problem
it's
with
pretty good.
healthy ice creams is that they're chalky. But yeah, so happy
thank
birthday
you.
to me. Yes, thank you to you guys. Arctic Zero.
And if
Arctic
anybody
with a
else wants
C.
to send us birthday gifts to us for Carlie, I'll give you the address.
And Lisa's birthday is in February, so
We got
you
time.
can start sending stuff now, anytime, ever. But yeah, I turned 30.
How does it feel?
I feel good. I feel like I'm only getting better with age. It's like, damn,
You
this
are.
is 30. Ooh.
I think we are, you know? And not we as in you and me, but in general, I think that's the goal, to like feel better as you get older. You know so much more, hopefully, and you make so many different decisions with your life that I think that's when you feel like you're in a rut. It's because, man, like, what am I not maximizing that I could be right now? And so it feels good when you're like,
Yeah,
when
when you
everything's going well.
feel like you're in alignment and just getting better like wine. I like really good scotch, I guess.
So forgive us to the audio people
Yeah, my bad,
if
y'all.
you
I'm
hear
so sorry.
our mouths being, God, I don't even know what to say after that.
Don't
But
say it. Don't say it. Like, if you hear us eating, we apologize. Just walk away run.
because anything I was about to say next was not going to be right. But if you hear us eating, it's the ice cream.
We're almost done. Because
I'm going to keep going, shoot. But anyway.
I mean, whenever we finish, we going to be out soon.
But happy birthday to Carlie.
Thank
That's
you.
most importantly. She's ready to get
Sagittarius
flued
season.
out for anybody who got the connects.
Faux show.
And also, before we get into our episode, I feel like I'm about to like scold y'all or something. But also, before we get into the episode, most of these like we record ahead of time, so we have it planned out for you. But we wanted to catch up and read a few of the reviews that we've gotten on our iTunes, which we appreciate so much. We've said this before. We thank you for any time you leave reviews or thoughtful words in our DMs or whatever it is. But we're going to read a couple of them today because we appreciate that. And we want to ask that for anybody else who's listening, if you have a positive thought about the podcast, please leave a review as well. So, Carlie, you can go ahead and we'll just read a couple of them.
Let's see. So, thank you so much. Like, you guys have no idea how much this makes our day. Like, we be texting each other like, yo, we got another review. Like, so
We
hype.
be hype.
Like, so hype. And it's just so special because this is special to us. And we do it because it's something that we wanted to share. So it makes me so happy to know that it's helping other people too. Because it's very cathartic for us. So
And there's ways you wouldn't even really think about like that necessarily.
And they've all been so like authentic and transparent and very special, very thoughtful. So thank you so much. There's one that we got. We reading names. Yeah, from Apple Seda. Thank you.
I recognize that name from social media.
Thank you. And it says, this has recently become one of my favorite go-to podcasts. My niche is professional development and personal/self-help. And this podcast is a beautiful hybrid of those two subjects. What really makes this podcast stand out are two things. The hosts are down-to-earth approach. The hosts have a down-to-earth approach on these subjects. And two, these conversations are led by women of color. These two things are so important to me because these sort of topics tend to be white and male dominated. So it is very refreshing to have two strong women tackle these issues. Keep the episodes coming.
I love it. Mine is from Pride of LR. This is our latest one that we got December 6th, titled Free Game. It says, Carlie and Lex have changed the game in their respective industries by taking risks and bringing a new approach to how to do things. This podcast is free game for anyone looking for ways to get ahead or to hear something that will push and inspire them to make moves. Every episode has taught me something new and forced me to think about my own actions in my journey. So I'm grateful for them and this podcast. Yay. Yeah. So what I like most about that is we really have a goal of trying to give you actionable things and give you like real stuff that you can do. So I really appreciate that folks are recognizing that and that it is useful for them.
Yeah, and the title of the other one was Two Real Women Giving Real and Useful Advice. So thank y'all. Y'all catching the vibes. We appreciate you. Another one is The Best Podcast for the Ambitious. Ooh, I like that one by Lex Monster. I came across one of the makers of this podcast on Instagram and was instantly intrigued to hear what she had to say. This turned into me binge listening to all 7 of the available episodes in one weekend. It's crazy how much you connect with Lex and Carlie. They are so real. I couldn't help but feel a bit of my own life and experiences reflected in each story they tell, and it honestly couldn't have come at a better time in my life. Stumbling upon this podcast is like finding a gold mine. At first, you're just in awe, and then you want to tell all of your friends and family so that they can share the wealth. Listen and be uplifted, because even when they talk about hard topics, they always leave you with hope. And that one, yeah, that's speaking my language, so I just really appreciate it, and I'm glad that on whatever level, us sharing our stories and being here is helping you. And that means the world. That means the world to us. Thank you so much.
And the last one we'll read, we have a few more, but Jay Ash says, if you enjoy real conversations, ... then you come to the right podcast. Carlie's Couch is a refreshing, authentic take on the everyday things in life we experience, from dating to business to the struggles of navigating peak levels of adulting. The episodes are packed with wisdom, humor, and shared stories that have you nodding your head like, yep, I feel you on that. So we're so glad it's relatable to you guys. Thank you, Jay Ash. Thank you, Castaway the Noop, Shad Supreme. They call me Quay, Leah, Stephen E. Martin, Arini 3G. Everybody who's left a review, we appreciate it so much. And we want to ask you again, leave a review when you have a moment or a 5-star rating. And also, what's also fun for me is looking at these analytics on the website. We be having people listening in Brazil and all over the different countries. And it's funny because on my IG story, one day when I was showing the analytics, I was like, oh, shoot, we got one person in Nigeria. And then later that evening, it was one of my friends. He's a director. His name's Ajiri. He was like, oh, that was me. And I was like, LOL, because he's Nigerian. I was like laughing. And then he was like, why is that funny? And I was like, oh, you're for real. He was really in Nigeria. So I was like, oh, bet, thanks. So he was like, yeah, I'm the Nigerian. So we appreciate all of y'all listening. On our U.S. map, though, I want us to have a goal to fill it up, to have people who have listened from every state.
All 50 states.
So right now we have heavy Cali, Texas, NC, South Carolina, Michigan.
I see you, Oklahoma.
The areas we do not have. So send this podcast to a friend if they live in Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi,
come on, Mississippi.
Arkansas,
we got
like
some people
that little
out there.
South area, and Northeast. No Maine, New Hampshire, or Vermont. And then the no man's land a little bit. North Dakota, South Dakota.
You can't diss them and then.
Wyoming, Montana. They're not listening, so they don't know.
You right.
Montana, Idaho, Utah.
Idaho, I know somebody in Idaho.
Oregon.
Excuse me.
Right. So Hawaii and Alaska. So please send this to your friends because I'm looking at this and I want to see the map get full to show that we've had somebody listen from every state. So I think that would be really cool.
No, actually, I'm going to call her by name. Vanessa. Dog. You've been listening, screenshotting it. So where you been at? You ain't been at home?
Maybe her phone isn't IP addressed or like...
Oh, could be a different state.
Or maybe she hasn't gone to the website because this isn't listeners necessarily. This is people going to the website too. So they got to like click into carliescouch.com.
So go ahead and send that to your friends and your homies and family
Send them
in
the
those
link.
states. We trying to be U.S. wide And worldwide, we already are.
Worldwide. We also want to get 100 YouTube subscribers because we're pretty close. We have like 88 now, I think. And people like watching. I think it's interesting. People comment under the video too. So for those of you who are watching, you don't have to be shy. Like, go ahead and like click subscribe. It just gives you a little alert every time we upload a video.
Yeah, and then we reply. So definitely.
Right? She's like, am I not doing enough? Are we not doing enough? We're replying.
It's actually us replying.
Right. It really is.
It really is us.
And also, too, we were thinking about things like Carlie doing like breathing exercises on there, some trap yoga or something. We'll figure it out. But we might do a little bit more with the YouTube, too. So definitely subscribe there.
Please. And shout out to everybody in all those states listening and all the countries. Yeah, South America got me hyped because that one was new.
Brazil. We out here. We out here. But it ain't about us, though. It's about clear mind, feeling good, and we want everybody to kind of get those same vibes that we're going after for ourselves as well. Yeah.
Manifestation.
Yeah. So today's topic is a big part of growth, and I think part of like a good self-love journey and part of being a more selfless person, all of these things, right? Better for relationships with other people and yourself. So Carlie, do you want to lead us in on the topic or like why you came up with it?
So today's topic is vulnerability. We'll have a much cooler actual title on on the podcast app. But vulnerability, and the reason why it's on my heart is because it's something I've been dealing with in my life in almost every aspect, like being vulnerable. So we wanted to delve into that. Like, what does that mean? What does that look like? What are our personal journeys in life, in relationships, in business? Because that's not an area you would think about vulnerability being in. And so that's really was on my heart. I was like, man, we got to talk about being vulnerable. So Lex, since I let it in, what is vulnerability?
I don't know, girl.
To you.
Oh.
To you, Dad.
To me.
She got excited about the ice cream, hit the mic.
I know. I finished the ice cream, so I was just trying to get that out of the way. Vulnerability to me means you are letting down your guard and letting your walls down to be open to good and the bad that may come as a result. Is that a good answer?
I mean, there's no right or wrong.
Oh.
I like that.
What about for you?
I think being vulnerable is putting yourself out there. Like being 100% yourself, giving your 100% best effort, putting everything out there and letting the chips fall where they may.
Okay.
I'll elaborate, but that's like the definition. The technical definition of vulnerability is the quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed, either physically or emotionally. Damn, why is that the definition of vulnerability?
Because that's what it is.
I mean, I know, but that sounds like, to me, it has such negative connotations.
I mean, it to be vulnerable is seen, I believe, as like a weak thing.
For sure.
In society. But it's also one of those things, like, to be open to the best of people and to be open to the best of experiences and things, you also have to be open to the possibility that it won't work out.
Yep.
Or the possibility that you will get hurt. So even like we see a lot of times, a lot of conversations around like love and, you got to not feel and you got to, all those types of things. And it's like, well, you're not going to progress anyway, like positively or negatively if you're just closed. And so I think it's important to be open for those reasons. And what we have to learn more of, I think, is more so how to process that negative better. Or like, what does this mean? Like if you're vulnerable, what's good vulnerable and what's bad vulnerable? Because I think there is maybe the thing of being too open or not assessing a situation.
Discernment.
Discernment. That's a great word. I think that is important.
Very much so.
Because you can't just be out here being extra like somebody you just met, the other day.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there is a healthy level of vulnerability that you need to have in order to grow yourself and with the person, I think. So, I kind of answered the why is it important.
Hey, no, that's perfect. That was my next question. Would you consider yourself vulnerable?
What is it? All the time? You know what, though? Actually, I think I and this is kind of reflected from episode I think 5 with our self-love journeys, because I kind of went to like how I used to be way more closed up and like didn't like talking, things like that. But I think now I am very much more vulnerable because because it matters less to me what the response is, I guess.
100.
So I think that it's gotten more comfortable, I guess is a better way to say it, because I would be super uncomfortable just even, I don't know, feeling like anybody knew anything even about me really. Like it's like a,
You
I
do
like
have
a
this like
wind in
mask
a
of
fog.
secrecy, kind of. You're mysterious. That's a better word. You're
even
mysterious.
still now, because I'll have people who hit me like, yeah, man, it's like people know about you, but they don't know nothing about you. And I'm like, oh, that sounds good to me. That sounds good to me. But at the same time, but I am very open, because with that same person, we were having a conversation. They were like, wow, your level of self-awareness is crazy. Because I'm sitting here, if they're asking me about dating or asking me about something, I'm not just like, no, yes, no. I'm like, yeah, but my issue is this, or, I struggle with doing this. Like I'm very clear now, or it's very, it doesn't mean anything bad to me to talk about issues that I might be having or dealing with in a progressive way, I guess. So I feel like I am more vulnerable now, but again, there's discernment. So, I'm not walking around just like saying everything to everybody.
Yeah, like I said, that's discernment. I feel like when we're little, we're very vulnerable. I feel like it's kind of like an opposite bell curve. So we start off and we're always telling everybody how we feel, and we're very honest. Like, so because little kids don't have that level of discernment, right? So they'll tell you straight up, like, oh, this is nasty, or oh, this is whatever. They're not trying to like hide nobody's feelings. That's just an example, but like they're much more vulnerable. And then for whatever reason, things happen and we start to get scared and we start to block off that part of ourselves because we care how other people react and feel and maybe what they'll think about us. And then as you get older, you kind of start unlearning all of that learned trauma and all of those learned experiences. And so I feel like I've always been pretty open, but there are certain areas in my life where it's a lot harder for me to be more open. And so part of what I consider my brand, because everybody has a brand now, like what you put out online, your content, like I'm always very genuine and transparent. Especially, let's say, just for health, for example, I always like to be honest about like when I'm struggling with things so that people know that it's not always, sunshine and rainbows, and it's not always easy, but it can be worth it whenever you're working really hard for your body and all of those things. But in relationships, I realize it's harder for me to be vulnerable in romantic relationships specifically, because there's like part of me that's just like, well, like, am I too much for somebody? Like, am I not enough for somebody? And those are my own issues that I'm working through. But that's something that I've been working on a lot lately.
So one question that came to mind with you speaking, is it dishonest to not be vulnerable?
I've never actually thought about the question that way. When you put it like that, I mean, I guess, yeah, in a sense it can be. And for example, okay, so I was talking about in a relationship, if I'm not showing that person who I really am, like if I'm hiding them, if I'm only letting them know the good things and happy Carlie and Carlie has it together and not the days when I'm burnt out and can't get out of bed and things like that, then it is a little bit dishonest because I'm not showing them like who I really am. Of course, it has to be a situation where I feel safe enough and where we're on that level where, I trust them with that. But if we are on that level and I'm not showing them that, then I think that is dishonest, because then how can they make an accurate decision about me in our relationship?
It also sounds like not being vulnerable or having a low level of being open to being vulnerable is also going to correlate with somebody who needs more control, because you're going to be less, or you're going to think more about the perceptions and think more about being open about what bothers you, because that's almost admitting that this is something maybe that's out of my control, or that you're not in control, I think, too. So as we're talking, I'm just thinking about different ways that vulnerability connects to just different aspects, I guess. Vulnerability, I don't think necessarily being the more vulnerable you are. Well, I don't know if it's being completely like honest to be vulnerable, But I do think that you're only harming yourself. Again, when you're at a point where you should be more open with particular people or about particular things, I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you are not real.
100%. And I feel like you're also taking agency, one, of choice from the other, from the people in your life, right?
Because you're trying to control them.
Because you're controlling them. Like, well, if I show them this side of me, they might not be there. But how do you know unless you ever give them the choice, the chance? But then also in the sense that, for example, I learned a personal story. Someone that I'm romantically involved with, I was going through some stuff, but I was like, oh, I don't know if I should tell him. Like, it's a whole lot. But I never, like, and then I told him, and he was great and very supportive and all these things. And it's like, had I never given him the opportunity, I would have never known how amazing and supportive he can be and encouraging about certain things that I wasn't sure. So you're, like, literally taking away someone's ability to be there for you.
And isn't it interesting how I feel like in relationships, especially, we say that we want somebody who's supportive, or you want that, right? You want somebody to be like, you know, we could talk about it or whatever. Yet at the same time, there's this thing in us, and I say us, I guess I kind of am speaking for you in this case. That's but cool. when you are, I feel like it almost sounds bad. Maybe it shouldn't. To be like you're an independent woman, or we're the type we like to be like, okay, we're on our stuff. So it's also like, all right, you want people to be there, but then it's also can be difficult to just even express like, oh, it's a lot. Like now, there's a lot of things going on. And so it's kind of like dealing with that too.
Yeah, and that's exactly
not
what
feeling
it
like
is.
you need it, but you want people to be there, but you don't want to feel like, oh, I need you to be there.
And so that, and then also on my side, because I can't speak for you on that, but on my side, it's like, I don't want you to think I'm any less than, than being this independent, amazing woman. Just
you want to
because
control your perception.
Exactly, control that, but also, like, why am I attached to that? And just, like, who I am as a person. What is this
ego
perfect person
esteem
that I feel like I have to be? But then also on the other side, like, being humble enough to know that we can't do everything by ourselves, and that you actually do need help, and that, like, that's learning to ask for it.
And I don't know if this goes away from vulnerability in itself as the topic, but these are the questions, like, I feel like I ask myself all the time now, because quite frankly, as soon as I catch myself thinking, like, about trying to make a decision about something, like even as simple as that, like letting somebody in or not, or like talking about a specific thing or not, then I kind of ask myself, like, why is that even a question to me? You know, like, is it on, maybe I don't know this person enough, or is it just something I'm trying to protect in myself? Like, I have myself in a prison with these walls instead of protecting myself.
Exactly.
So anytime I try to catch myself, that's more like what I'm trying to get to, is I try to catch when I'm trying to protect myself.
And that makes me think of the untethered soul. And so it's like any walls you build are not to protect you, but to box you in and to keep you from love, essentially. And not even just romantic, but any type of, like, love, because it could be a friend love, like not asking your friend for help, whether it be money, moving, or you're crying and you just don't want to, quote unquote, be a burden. Because, bruh, I feel like that often. And so I always have to be like, Carlie, just do it. Like, it's fine. And giving people the chance to be there for you. But anytime you build walls, you're literally just caging yourself off from things.
So then do you have a particular, like, story about, like, certain things that you've gone through that have taught you something about vulnerability specifically, or is more so like looking back now you can see different areas and different places?
I think it's looking back now I see it. Like, I didn't see it then. Like I said, because I'm a generally very open person, right? Like, open book. I will be like, you ask me how I'm doing, and most times, like, I'm very honest. Not in a I complain type way, which I think is also a big thing for me because I don't like complaining. But just in, trying to be transparent along the journey and let people know that they're not alone when they're going through things. But, like, looking back, I definitely see, like, where things change, like, or whenever, like, maybe I open myself up in a situation, romantically or otherwise, where I didn't use my discernment. Now I can see I didn't use my discernment, but then I thought it was because I was open and I was either judged or I got hurt. And then now I'm like, okay, well, now I have to be more thoughtful about how I open. And also realizing that I need to think about myself too and not just the other person. So trying to control their perception, like, stop doing that. It's a losing game. You can't do that. I'm just talking to myself here, y'all.
Right. I'm like, look, talk it out.
I know,
Girl, talk
exactly.
it Because it's funny.
DM, it's my birthday. Come on.
Right. Look, it's your topic. But no, and even like we had these kind of questions thought out to think through, but I didn't even really have an answer about this at all. But something has just came to me now, so I'm like,
go ahead, Lex.
now I kind of have a story. Because I didn't necessarily want to talk about like relationships, but one thing that clicked for me, man, around when though? Probably from like one of my best friends in college, or the girl I consider my best friend. She kind of helped me think through and understand why I am a certain way, as far as I can have a very like hard exterior, especially like with men, or because like in college, like I said before, I used to be like super mean. Like if a dude walked up to me, I'd like roast them, and you know what I mean? I couldn't just be like, no thanks, you know. Now I'm like really nice or whatever. But even since then, and also like not being relationship crazy, not really being like super like guy crazy, all of those things. One thing that I realized was, ever since I was like a little kid, I'm about to get so depressing on this. I'm so sorry, Carlie, on your birthday.
I'm here for.
Like even as far back as kindergarten, I remember instances of being touched inappropriately, like by people in maybe grown-ups, mostly like literally kids. Like I remember in elementary school, like there was this weird thing, and it seems like it's like nothing now, but I remember days in like second grade, I think, like where I literally didn't want to go to school because it was every day. Like being, you know, you had to get in lines to go to everything.
Yeah.
Like there was this group of boys that every day, like they would grab on my butt, or like touch me inappropriately, or try to like jump on me or whatever, every day. And it like, I think from that I kind of got like a shell, because it's like all through elementary. I think I kind of got into a shell because I didn't really tell anybody about it. But that's also why I was fighting. Like I would fight in school. That's when I threw the boy out the window, like, and threw a rock at one boy's head. I didn't tell that story on you? Oh, I threw a boy out the window in 4th grade, and the teacher was like, she looked out the window, she was like, well. But that was back when you could kind of get away with stuff.
I'm going to have to tell my beat up boy story up.
On the playground one time, like I threw a rock at, like his head started bleeding, and I was just like, oh my God, please don't tell. Like, and he was like, I'm going to tell. But now thinking about it, I'm like, that's part of what makes me so like aggressive or / not open to like what do you want? Like when I'd see a guy, I was like, yo, what do you want? Like, what are you trying to do? And like touching me, like don't touch me type thing. What does this have to do with vulnerability? Hold on, let me get back to the point. Oh, basically that it's just like I think that made me a very closed person. It made me a very untrusting type person. So if I'm untrusting about just like me and my body and letting you in, period, like even getting into my space, then I definitely wasn't into my mind. But I tell that story just to say that it was like literally years and years later that I started connecting dots of, because we also kind of like let things out of our mind, I think, after a while. But I mean, like looking back now, I'm like, oh my gosh, like so many things happened that made me be a person where it's like these people are the last thing on my mind right now. Our relationships are the last thing on my mind, or, you know, talking to guys, like for what? And so overall, I had to really learn to like, I don't want to say soften up, but not be so skeptical of anybody who got my space.
Yeah. Dang, as you're talking, this story hit me, and I'm like, oh, the mood on my birthday.
Oh, you knew what you were doing.
I guess, okay, so.
It's about growth, though.
It is. So I've always been the strong friend, the strong person. Always. Like I can't show any signs of weakness, and for a very long time I thought that vulnerability was weakness, and I can't show that because how can I be the person that holds everybody else up and show any signs of that? That's also why I struggle for asking for what I want, because if I'm the strong person, I should be able to get everything. And it's kind of started back. So my mother was in a very abusive relationship, and I always, like growing up my whole life, and I always protected her. Like I was her protector. I was the strong person. I was the one that would help her and do all these things. And so I kind of took that persona in that one part of my life, and now it's in everything. Like all my friends, like, you know, I like to be that strong. I'm learning to let that go. But I feel
like that helps you to feel validated, to know that you can help other people. Or like be there for people.
I think on some level, like I just recently did a spiritual gifts test, and that's part of my spiritual gift is like being able to empathize with others. Like I don't like to say I'm an empath. I'm millennial labels, but I am very compassionate and can connect with people on that level. But not for me. I think at some point it could become an ego thing if I wasn't self-aware of it, like getting validation from those things. And that was something I talked about in the spiritual gifts. Like you have to be able to be aware because that could become a pride issue, right? But
like
I took
a codependence thing, I guess.
and that's codependent no more. Melody Beatty. Second time I shouted it out, changed my life. But I always had to be the strong person, and so in my mind, like I couldn't be weak at all, and so showing any type of weakness, asking for help, like letting people know when I was struggling, like to me that was weakness, and I never wanted to be doubt that I never wanted people to doubt that I was strong or to question that strength. So I would have to go for it. But now I realize there's a lot more strength in being vulnerable and showing that, like, yes, you can have like quote unquote weak moments, but we're human and it happens, and it doesn't make me any less strong of a woman or a person ever.
I think it's interesting that you felt that way because you were somebody that a lot of people counted on, or you felt like you owed it to people to help them. And for me, I felt the exact same way, but it had nothing to do with other people. I felt like vulnerability was weakness, and being too emotional, putting that in air quotes, is a weakness. More so because I've just had this feeling like I had to be perfect. But it wasn't about needing to help people or anything at all. Like, I don't know. I always just grew up feeling like I needed to be perfect. So that's my thing.
I did too.
But because my friends know, well, God, I hate to say that now. Some of them still do. Like, I'm not on anybody's top of their list to, like, run to if you're dealing with something, right? Because they would know me as, okay, so this is what you need to do type thing. Instead of being like, oh, man, I'm sorry. Like, that's hard for me. Maybe less now, actually. Maybe I should test this out because it's been a while. But, like, in general, like, I have to talk to my friends and I find out stuff that happened, like, months ago to them or to their families. And I'm like, I feel bad because, like, man, I should check in more, or I want you to feel like you can talk to me about stuff, I guess. But that's just not really like my role for a lot of people. So
yeah, that's interesting. But also on the flip side is like I've always felt like I had to be perfect too. My therapist, when I was like telling her why I was like what I was struggling with, she was like, well, what is this perfect ideal you have of yourself that you're failing? And I was like telling her all these things, and she's like, you know that's perfect and very unachievable, right? Like not possible, not physically possible. Very interesting. Huh.
So over time, do you feel like you've gotten more vulnerable over time, or that you've just maybe mastered how to be vulnerable better?
Yeah, just mastered. I've always been vulnerable, but just mastered. Like I've always been, my friends like to tease me that I have all the emotions and I am the emotional person. I'm the sensitive one because I am, and y'all know me. I definitely am, but I think it's just mastering discernment, first of all. It's like, so in the situations, like situational, in ways to tell my story that are still very genuine and transparent to me, but like audience appropriate. And so also I'll be in coffee shops or whatever, and people will come to me and tell me their whole life story. Like that just, I don't know. It's a thing. And, a way to empathize with them and tell my story without like telling them everything or giving people all of myself in a way that like leaves me lacking. Right. So that's the thing I've learned how to do, is in a way that keeps me full and doesn't drain me, because being there for people can be very draining if you're not aware. And I think also being like a personal trainer and a yoga teacher and like a spiritual healer, mentor person, like you have to learn how to protect your space and protect your spirit in those situations, because it's very easy to take on other people's stuff.
Which is not being vulnerable necessarily, right?
No, I mean, you can be, but I'm saying I've learned how to do it in a way that is still being vulnerable. Like I've mastered that in a sense, so where I can still be very vulnerable with you, but not leave a meeting like owning all of your feelings and owning all of those things.
And we're talking about us being vulnerable, but what about on the flip side, open to other people's vulnerabilities? Because, and I guess that's maybe more so what I was talking about just now, when it's like certain people don't feel like they could be vulnerable with me because but I will be feeling it, but I'm not showing it like feeling it as deep as like you might want somebody to react or whatever sometimes. But it sounds like you're pretty open to people being vulnerable with you.
Yeah.
I feel like I get shocked. Like if somebody's like, I don't know, maybe I'm better at this now, actually.
I think you are.
Because we already talked about before in another episode when I was like telling people as a initial greeting that I wanted to drive into a tree, and it's like, all right. And they were like, yeah, me too. And that's how we started a conversation.
I think, but I think, maybe
I'm better at it now.
we're very different, but we're still on the same wave. And so I think you just have a different way of that happening and of people opening up to you.
Right. People don't walk up to me at coffee shops. They walk up to me like 2 months later and tell me how they saw me at the coffee shop that day and I looked mean.
Yeah, this happens. This happens
that's what
all
I
the time.
hear. I'm like, man, I ain't mean. I'm just minding my business.
Watch. Next time me and Lex go do something, somebody's going to, I saw you at that. Like, what? I saw you at Ralph's 3 months ago.
Right.
You were wearing a green shirt.
People will like tweet you too, like, oh, I saw you at Big Wings the other day. I'm like, okay. Say what's up next time.
Lex got the juice.
Anyway.
Okay. I mean, she does, but that was being facetious.
Mm-hmm. So what about in different like categories? What does it mean to be? Let me ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
Which category, and maybe I'll give some example categories.
Okay.
Which category is it most hard for you to be vulnerable? With family, with friends, in romantic relationships?
Romantic relationships.
Really?
Uh-huh. I get hella awkward. I am so down for him to be vulnerable with me, and I'm ready and just, there. But when it comes to me, I'm like, oh.
Because you want to be the counselor, huh? That's your thing.
I don't want to be.
You'd rather be the ear than the other way around.
Well, I want it to be a balance. I want it to be both ways. But
you're
my actions would say other words.
Right.
But I'm getting better, y'all. Like, I'm really working on it. But that requires a lot of communication. Like, literally just had a conversation the other day, like, what happened to you yesterday? I was having a really bad day, but I'm better now. That was literally text and was like, what happened? And I was like explaining it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not good at reaching out for help. Like, I'm not good at asking for help from people. Like, yeah, but that doesn't make any sense. Like, in order to do whatever, we have to communicate. And I'm like, you are so right. But like, it's like hard for me. Like, I get so awkward. Like, I consider myself like decently smooth, like with everything else in life. I guess Lex thinks otherwise.
No, it's just mad funny to even say that.
I mean, it's real.
Consider myself smooth. That's funny.
But when it comes to this, I just kind of like, I lock up. But the good thing is my friends who have known me forever, they know that. And they give me space, but also like,
they know to check in with you.
Yes. And so that when people like checking on your strong friends, I hate that because I think you should always like, not every day when I say always, but like always check in on people that you care about whenever you can and whenever you're in a space where you can do that very healthily for you. But like knowing how they respond to things. Like I'm not good at people prodding.
That's important. Yeah. You have to know your friend. Like these friends that you consider yourself you want to actually be there for or be helpful in their life in whatever way. You have to actually know them and how they respond and stuff. Because again, people, if you ask me something in a certain way, like I'm not even gonna want to talk about it either. Like, which is also fine, I guess. But I don't know. You just gotta know like how to talk and how to let what happens happen. Not trying to pull anything out. Because it's almost too like getting defensive. Like if somebody feels like something's wrong and they want to ask you too much, and it's like, then sometimes I might close up more because I'm like, oh, am I not doing a good job of hiding this?
Exactly. Or also that goes back to the asking what people need, right? So when people call me being vulnerable, I'm like, well, do you want me to hold space for you or do you want advice? Because I'm also very process oriented. Like I'm on both sides of that coin. So let me know, because if not, like me and one of my best friends, she's literally been like, okay, I got to get off the phone with you because you keep trying to tell me what to do. And I'm like, but you didn't tell me what you needed. So I'm just trying to help.
I've never had anybody say that though. Like you're telling me what to do. That's a bad thing.
That literally happened. We're way past that.
I guess, I don't have that many friends who are just venters, like just straight up without, because again, maybe that's just people knowing me. They call me for answers, I think, when they hit me up.
I like that though.
I mean, you got to know what people's thing
you gotta
is,
know.
I guess.
Yeah.
Because then it's funny, because then to people who are even more that type of person than me, then like I don't want the answers from them all the time either. So I guess, being like that, you can understand it from both sides.
What about for you? What area is the toughest for you?
For me, the toughest to be vulnerable is family.
What do you mean?
I think this probably sounds really weird, but I think the people who know me the least are my family members. But that probably stems back to what I said earlier about feeling like I need to be perfect was probably a thing from like my parents, which is not their fault or anything on them necessarily, because I'm the one who kind of developed that feeling like I need to do this or I need to do that or I don't want to let them down or whatever.
Yeah.
But in that same wavelength, I'm just not, like I don't talk to them about stuff for real.
Yeah.
Or I wouldn't really But at the same time, anytime I am open with them, like when I was just at my parents' house for Thanksgiving and stuff, I'm like, can I borrow some money? And they're like, yeah. Like they got you. And like I'm at the crib. They didn't want me to leave. Like I was there for like a month. And they were like, oh, you sure you got to go back? So like, it's like, they got you too. But I hate, and maybe also part of it is like feeling like I want to be, or maybe I should be the ones taking care of y'all. So like how you talked about with your friends, I'm about to say I don't care. Not that I don't care about my friends, but like I don't feel any like sense of I need to take care of you necessarily. Not that I won't help with stuff, but like I feel like I owe that to my family though. And if anything were going on with them, like I would feel bad. Like I can't, I see the wallpaper coming off. Like I can't help you right now, and that makes me feel upset or vulnerable, or that brings up the things about wanting to be in a different space. So for me, it's with my family, I think.
Yeah, no, I feel that every time my mama called me with something, I'm like, oh, and I can't help you. Yeah, but that's so real. And then I wanted to explore, just furthering on vulnerability. I was at a book club meeting, like a big book club thing last month. Mm-hmm. And we were doing a Return to Love, Marianne Williamson, and she came to speak, which was really cool. And she was talking, and one of the ladies in the audience had asked, like, oh, I want to be in a relationship, but why not? And Marianne was like, oh, well, what are you afraid of? Like, what are your 3 things you're afraid of? And Marianne ended up like giving advice, and then she recommended a book. And then she went into talking about how, like, women, like, if they want to keep their man, like, society has created this environment where we have to be the strong woman, the independent woman, the Athena, right? The Athena is the goddess of pretty much everything. Like, she's a hunter, she's a beast. Like, she works really hard. She's very, like, a lot of bravado, and she's really, really strong. She was like, but Miriam was saying that the problem is that a lot of men don't want to marry Athena. They want to marry Aphrodite, who is the goddess of love and sexuality and sensuality and femininity. So they're 2 opposite sides of a coin. While I think all women have both, right? And I do think there is a level of society that has created this environment where women, especially women of color, especially Black women, have to be this strong, the matriarch, the person who takes care of everything, who is a beast at work and then come home and like is this person for their kids. And so I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about vulnerability in the sense of those layers. And if you have any stories or have any thoughts around how being vulnerable is affected by, like, in society about being a woman or about being a woman of color.
Maybe sometimes you feel like you have more to prove, which is more reason to not be as vulnerable. But outside of kind of what I already talked about as far as being a woman, I'm trying to think of something specific to like being a person of color, though.
Well, maybe I'll give it. Let me finish the story. Maybe that'll help. So, me and one of my friends was there, and while we both enjoyed the talk, one of the comments made really triggered her. And she was like, as a Black woman, she was like, stop telling me that, oh, it's just because you're being too strong that you don't have a man. That's how she interpreted what was said, which there was undertones of that for sure. She was like, first of all, how as you as a white woman can tell me anything about that? But second of all, like, society has created this environment where I always have to be strong. Like, I can't not be strong as a Black woman. Like, you're telling me to be more vulnerable, but I can't because it's part of my survival. And so I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that and vulnerability.
I see that makes sense because a lot of times in conversations around women, when we're talking about women of color and women of other race, it's like it's almost like we have so much more to think about and be worried about that, no, we're not always just lay back or like not just we'll do whatever, or I hate to use words like submissive and stuff because it's not really a blanket thing either. But going to like what that author said, I see that a lot of people say they want that, somebody who's very strong and independent, or perhaps they do, like that's what attracts. But then it's like, all right, like, can you like chill out a little bit?
Yeah.
Which could be saying more to that other person that you're with. But at the same time, to what you're saying, it's like, can you turn it off? I think you can, though. I mean, I think you can still be vulnerable. I think that's when I think maybe we have less people that we feel like we can be vulnerable with.
100%.
And so that I think it's very, very important, especially as Black women, to have other Black women friends that you can really be connected to and talk to, like on a real level and on a real vulnerable level. But I could definitely see how to the world it's like you kind of still have to maintain, a certain appearance.
Yeah. And I think that's important because we can't talk about, vulnerability like in a vacuum. Like, right. And so I thought that was important to address. And it was definitely like on my heart in the whole conversation because it is very triggering. And it is important to have those safe spaces where people do understand you and can hear you out and support you. But also knowing that whenever you're coming from some of these underrepresented backgrounds, that there are other layers to being vulnerable than just, I'm going to be vulnerable today.
Yeah, and now I'm thinking about it too, like the biggest group that I'm like not vulnerable with at all, like outside of what I said, my family would be when I've had like people that I work with or a coworker or a partner or clients, like anything like that, because I'm like, I want to keep work stuff. Like I need that to look like this. And I don't, even vulnerability with my work or with what I'm working on, like I'm not even getting into that necessarily.
Yeah.
Like, I like for that to look a certain way. But
100%.
now if somebody's talking to me, like, if I'm talking to friends about work, then I can be like, yeah, man, like, or, I lost a client or I'm trying to figure out a new way to do something. Like, okay, cool, I can have those conversations. But when I've had a real job before, like, oh, how was your weekend? And like, what'd you do, girl? Like, no, don't, please.
Yeah.
Like that's just being personal, but like I don't like being personal with people who I feel like are just small talking and just talking just to be talking. So I'm very selective with who I'm open with, period. Not even at the level of vulnerability, but even talking to, period, because I think my brain processes like, I don't want to say does this person matter, but like, do they have anything to do with like the future of me? And like, I just don't feel like I need to like get to know everybody really.
Yeah, I feel like it's also an energy thing. Like, you just have to be. I hate small talk in general. So if we're having conversation and it's just like coworker small, I hate it. Like let's talk about something real. If we gonna talk, if we're gonna be here and having this conversation, let's talk about something real.
Or like if you're spending a lot of time talking about something that just doesn't matter. Like
I hate that.
It bugs me every time I go to my friend's office, like when I'm back home or whatever, and they're just like talking all day, and it's like y'all really talking about everybody else around here and what y'all did and stuff, and it's like y'all not doing nothing. Like
or no forward thinking, like no big ideas, which I think I'm very blessed in the sense that I look at other people in my life, and when I talk to all y'all, it's always like business ideas and we're working on this and growth and manifesting and letting go of toxic thinking. Like it's always these really deep conversations. So whenever they're bland, I'm like, oh,
right. Like what's the point of this conversation?
Yeah, like, why are you
but I guess at the same time too, though, I don't know if that's all the way a good thing because we like to have those. Well, I don't know. I like to have those conversations because I'm just at a level where like that's what matters to me.
Yeah.
And so like little stuff, I mean, it's cool too, but it's like I'm not the person to talk to about that stuff for the most part.
Yeah, and I think it happens organically. Like I don't walk up to people, what's your greatest life passion?
Yeah.
It usually just works its way into conversations.
Right.
But yeah, that's it from me.
What else you got in here? Can you be vulnerable? You said you already were, huh?
Yeah, I'm actively working on that. And real quick,
how do you learn to be more vulnerable?
You practice. You have communication with those people in your life.
Or like I said before, like you catch yourself when you're about to put a guard up, maybe.
And you ask yourself why, and do the opposite and just see what happens. Because the only way to grow is to confront those little fears, those things that are keeping you from putting those walls down. I was going to say at work, there is one way to be vulnerable, and that's learning to ask for help. When like telling your boss, like, hey, I have too much on my plate, or actually, no, I can't pick up that project yet because I need to finish this. That's something else I had to learn with my mentor because I'm always like, I can get it done. I can get it done. I can get it done. And I'm up at 4:00 in the morning, like, Carlie, bro.
And you only did that to yourself. So it's like, I need to be more real about what I can do and what I can't do.
And being vulnerable.
That's important.
Yeah. So I thought that was really important. Anything else on vulnerability?
No, I feel like I'm proud of where I am with vulnerability right now and moving forward. kind of in the same vein, but not exactly just the vulnerability. My thing to work on, I think that I'm going to try to do is just doing a better job of making sure I do more than just think these big ideas, big thoughts, and talk about work and life, but that I do bring it down to keep up with people that I consider my friends and like have real and regular conversations with them. They don't just only see me when I post some Carlie's Couch shit or whatever, like that I actually keep up with people and then I have more conversations. Because it does make me sad when it's like I'll call a friend and it's like the conversation lasts forever, but I'm like, oh, but I haven't talked to them in a long time. Like, you're telling me things about last year, and it's like, oh man, like I should have known these things, you know? So just being more open to other people, and kind of practicing that with other folks.
Yeah, I'm working on, and I like that. It's hard as we get older and we have all these things on our plate, but it's for the people who are there, like, even if they don't need tending to that often, like I have a best friend who we talk maybe once a month. And I like reached out to her. I was like, hey, you know, are you comfortable with how much we talk? Like, I just want to make sure you are okay. And she was like,
a survey.
Listen, so she said, is it bad if I say I'm good with how often we talk? We talk like once a month for like 20 minutes, maybe. And I was like, no, girl, like I just want to make sure that you're good. So I'm working on communication, right? In those things where like, hey, I really am struggling today. Like I need some time. We can talk later or something like that. Just working on being more open in those and trusting of those in my life.
Okay. Alrighty. And before we close, we got shout out of the week this week.
Of course we do. And because it's my birthday, it's my shout out.
Shout out yourself.
Shout out my... No, I'm kidding. Almost got wowed there for a second.
Oh, God.
It actually flows naturally to it. Lex was teasing me because she was like, oh, you got a Grammy speech. Actually,
she would write notes and stuff about the shout out of the week, y'all.
I wouldn't be where I am today without all the amazing people in my life. And
that's good.
I just can't close out a birthday without thanking them. And, you know, Carlie's Couch is a platform that, you know, they, in all of their unique ways, have enabled. But first, I want to thank Lex. She didn't know that was coming. But, like, this was her idea. And we met on Twitter. And life just had this really cool way of making us friends and helping us have things that, like ideas and dreams that work together so we can continue pouring into each other. And I'm just super grateful for her. She's also hilarious. And she be talking about, I'm disgusting. She is disgusting and a creep, but.
Off the camera.
Yeah. Oh.
And off the mic.
Or on the mic.
Ooh, ow. See what you did there?
God.
She's like, I didn't mean to go this direction.
Oh, God. All right. So next on the list, I'm just going to shout out.
Thank you, Carlie.
You are so welcome. I'm super grateful for you. And everybody else, you're just going to get a name shout out. But Felicia, Stacey Ann, Tyvette, Kim, Lala, JR, Katrina, Iwani. Man, y'all are the bomb. Jay.
I feel like we need some music for like the Oscars.
We do. Maybe we could put some on the thing. Lex is going to put some music on the thing. But y'all are amazing. I'm super grateful to have you in my life. And my team is the illest. There's some other people like Whitey. Y'all
That's
the bomb.
a good feeling.
I'm just so grateful. I could keep going on and on forever, but that's enough for now.
Shout out of the week goes to Carlie's team. Carlie's
Y'all
amigos, amigas, and important people in her life.
Y'all the bomb.
That's good. And every once in a while, I think that's good. Like you really jot it down or like think about who those people are. Because I think it kind of can change. Or like there's people from back in the day, your friends, because you're in the neighborhood or school, whatever.
Yeah.
But like when you really think about like who really are those people, you know, that like I like to talk to or engage or whatever, I think it changes. So I think that's good to keep that top of mind.
Yeah.
And now the question of the week.
Question of the week
is, where do I need help? Who can I ask for it?
So Lex, where do you need help?
I don't know. Everywhere. Where do I need help? Where do I need help? Damn, I'd be trying to just say money every time I have a question.
Cash App.
Right. Cash App.
We need to make one
Quincy.
for Carlie's Couch.
Right. We be trying to just ask y'all to do screenshots and stuff, but listen, it might be about that time.
We still saving up for a vouch.
Oh, I took that responsibility on next month because I get a nice little amount. That's why I'm like, I'm struggling right now, but I'm about to be nice. So
turn up.
We're going to have a couch soon.
Yes.
Where do I need help? I don't know. I'm trying to think of some different things in like work stuff or like what we did like with the what do you want type episode.
Yeah.
How about this? I need help with money management.
Ooh,
Because I
manifest
think
that.
I know, it's like I know how to do things. I know what I should and shouldn't be doing, but I still like, like I'll get my emails from the bills and stuff like, oh, this is do this. And I'll be like, delete. Like, I don't know why I don't know. I'm not that good with money.
Yeah,
Like, but I'm great at making it, but I'm not good at like,
managing.
maybe like, I don't even know when my certain bills are due. Like, I don't until they call me like, then I'll be like,
So
or
what?
to my brother, it's like, oh, the internet's cut off. And I'm like, my bad, dog. Like, I just need more, I need more money management help and like a plan. I do know who I can ask for with my credit help. That's Momodou Mambare, because he got me right one time and then I messed it up again. But so if anybody else needs some credit repair, I got you. He's helped a lot of my friends actually. But who I can ask for money management,
I might have got a couple people for you.
but at the same time, I feel like that's why it's always hard with what do I need help with questions, because I think the problem really is not wanting to do it.
Yeah,
You know 100%. What I mean? Because
100%.
I can do everything. Like, not to sound like
I can do
arrogant about it, but like I know how to find, I can find a budget, I can find this, find that, and tools and learn what I need to do. But it's just the accountability maybe more so for me with anything. Like I can figure everything out, I just don't do it.
No, that's real.
But I hate when I'm at that point where it's like, oh shoot, everything's falling apart.
Like, let me
and then I'm
transfer
thinking
some money
about it,
and then
right?
transfer some money.
Then I'm trying to think about it, like that's too late.
No, that's real.
What about you?
Oh man, that would be one too, but I'm not gonna piggyback off your answer. But
Right.
money management, for
Niggas
sure,
need money.
because I can make money. That ain't no issue.
Right. Maybe that's what makes it hard too, because it's like, I can make some money. Like I have $0, and by tomorrow I can be like, oh, okay, this person's about to send me something because I figured something out to do or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, I don't like having I was thinking this other day, it's like I cannot wait till I'm at a point where I don't feel like I have to constantly think about how to make stuff happen.
Oh, that's beautiful.
If that makes sense.
No, that's beautiful.
So I'm like, I realize I'm like so good at making stuff happen. But I realize like I'm in a constant state of always trying to do that.
Yeah, and I don't want to be there.
And I don't want to be, like, I'm great at it, but I don't want to be in a constant state of figuring things out.
That's real.
That's kind of my goal.
Let's see. I need. I guess I'm trying to think of something different. Let's see. Someone, because me and Lex, Lex mentioned it a little bit earlier, but we're working on developing some other amazing content for you guys for YouTube and stuff like that. So maybe like a creative video person or creative in general, somebody to help me kind of think through what that would look like. So I can write it down so we can get these things shot and get them uploaded.
So like creative direction kind of.
Yeah. Someone to ideate with me. I'm sure you got all your friends do that.
I'm about to say, first of all, if you go to page 4 of my drafts for you, I already got planned out.
Bet.
Kind of, actually.
Bet,
but
shawty.
I'm going to let you figure it out on your own.
Okay.
What you want to do.
Well, thank you guys for joining me on the
That's all
couch
we
for my
got,
birthday.
man. Yeah, happy birthday
On the
to
couch for my
Carlie.
birthday. Hey. What? Mind your business.
This is my business right now. Oh my gosh, I'm on the podcast too. You should have stood on this table though if you was really about that action, but that'll be in the
another
cutscenes.
YouTube video.
That'll be in the cutscenes. Yeah, so subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Please subscribe, y'all. We're trying to get to 100 followers.
Yeah. And we got a lot of cool stuff planned for 2019 too. So we have another couple episodes this year. And then we're just going to keep going, man. We appreciate the support.
Yeah,
It's
we
really
love
been
y'all.
fun so far. Feels like we did 100 episodes already and we're so far from that.
We already, but I was like, dang, we got this many. I was like,
Right.
oh shit, okay.
Right. Oh my gosh. But we're moving though. So we appreciate you guys. Hit us up if you need anything, have any suggestions, and we will see you next Monday.
Bye, y'all.
Ciao.